Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, and today is the 17th of July, and it's a Thursday, and it's a little late for me, about 9 in the morning, and the reason this is so much going on. This thing with Syria is massive. So what we're going to cover today are the birth pangs and how they're related to Jacob's trouble, and how Jacob's trouble in Jeremiah 30 is related to Zechariah 12, which is in process right now in part, I would say, and I'll show it to you. And that's the siege on Israel, and that not an invasion. And then we're going to discuss the signs relating to the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, which are massive. And then we're going to put it all together with you. And yeah, there's been fires and floods and stuff like that throughout, the last 50, 80 years. But has that happened when Israel is in the process of fulfilling Zechariah 12? In other words, fighting on 7 fronts, really. Although some are not active now, it has been 7 fronts, and the enemy's still there, and they haven't made any kind of peace with us. And there's an 8th front that is sort of in play, and that's Egypt, with over 100,000 soldiers with tanks and equipment on our border. I would say that's cause for something. They're fighting, no, but what are they putting 100,000 troops on our border for if they don't intend to fight? And prophecy looks like it's getting fulfilled right now in the form of Damascus shall be a ruinous heap. The last 36 hours or so, we've been bombing Damascus. We destroyed their equivalent of the United States Pentagon. It's destroyed. Kaputski. Other facilities have gotten destroyed in Damascus. We bombed Damascus. We haven't made it a ruinous heap yet, but we bombed it, and this thing is continuing. It's not just continuing, it's escalating. It's escalating, and I'll give you a brief rundown of it so you can understand it. And, I can appreciate the guys covering the Ukraine and Russia war, and I cover it too, and there's no reason why not to. But the emphasis needs to be on Israel. If you're interested in end times, if you're interested in scaring people into buying survival food and shortwave radios and stuff like that, you want to sell prepper stuff and make a lot of money, well, then you're going to beat the drum with the Ukraine-Russia war and how it's going to turn into a nuclear interaction any minute now, and that's going to drive people to buy more stuff. So we're going to be doing that. I'm going to jump into the live stream now and make sure we've got sound and picture and it's working and things like that. It's always nice to know your live stream's working. Into the live stream now. We got plenty of sound and picture. I've got the noise under control, I think. Let me take a listen again. And make sure we've got sound and picture and working. It's a little background noise from the air conditioning, guys, but it's really slight, and not much I can do except turn the air conditioning off periodically. I've got moderators here. Thank you, moderators. appreciate the compliments, guys. Okay. I don't mind the the good morning and all that in Hebrew, but I think I'm the only one that'll understand it. So, you know. Okay, I'm gonna put a post up in the chat real quick. This is not gonna take any major amount of time. It's gonna be in seconds. Okay. Where'd that bar go? There it is. Okay, let me pin this up and we'll get going. Did it pin? It seems to have pinned. I have to keep an eye on this thing and make sure it doesn't do a pop-up on me and block us out. These Android devices fight with you to do the updates, and I did the update on that tablet, and it won't let me live stream on YouTube with no good reason why. I can't figure that out. Hang on a second, I gotta check a couple of fast things here. Okay. I don't know if I'm so befuddled here. I don't think I did the praise yet, did I? I didn't do the praise, did I? That was the question. What is the crown? Don't know what you mean unless you're talking about he gives a believer a crown in Revelation around verse 20. It could be a literal crown, I don't know. Okay. I think that's what you're talking about, but I don't know. It could be a spiritual crown. You got me on that one. We'll have to wait and see. Or wait to see when we get to talk to Apostle John. He had the vision. He probably knows what the crown looks like, so could ask him. Okay, there is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Before we start, everybody here has an open invitation to cast the demons out of me. All you want, whenever you want to. Go right ahead. Full permission, demon toss me. I don't have any demon. Now, why don't you hear people do that on the internet? Why am I the only one that does that? Do you ask yourself that question? Maybe you should. Okay. I bind B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach any unclean spirit from remaining in any person who attempts to do any evil work aimed and directed at any of us, the broadcast, any of the people watching, listening to it, you unclean spirits. As soon as that work begins, you shall immediately depart from these people, never return unto them again. And you shall, none of you unclean spirits, shall communicate with these people, guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, assist them, give them advice using any means at your disposal for 1 year continuously right after the event. And these commands, this binding and these commands are set in place irrevocably now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And my fellow believers shall agree, and it shall be done by our Father in heaven, Jehovah. It's going to be good today. Okay. Syria. So there's all kinds of nonsense floating around. I'm going to tell you what's really going on in Syria and why Israel is fighting. I'm going to tell you why he's fighting, okay? Why Netanyahu is fighting. This idiot, his name is Giuliani. The new government in Syria is called HTS, Hotel Tango Sierra. Now, the idiot Bashar Assad used to fight against ISIS, and he used Russia to help him do it with jet planes and bombing them and all that. And Al-Qaeda is kind of an ISIS junk box group also. So this Giuliani guy, he's, by the way, if you look at his arms and things, he's very transactional. He's an ISIS bum and an Al-Qaeda piece of garbage, and they cleaned him up. Like, they put a new paint job on him. You take an old car and you give it a new paint job, it looks like a new car, but in the motor, the guts of the car is still garbage. It's an old junky motor. Well, this guy still has an old evil black heart. He's wearing a suit, he's got a haircut, shaved his beard, trimmed it, looks like he's going on Wall Street, but he's still vermin. It's still vermin, evil. And he's been doing genocide off and on in the few months he's been there, while Bashar Assad is hanging out with Putin in Russia after stealing billions and billions and billions of dollars from the Syrian monetary, wherever they kept the money. He probably made sure he was the only one that had access to it. He might have limited the other people in the government from being able to access, like $100,000 at a time with 200, but to take it all out, probably just he was the only one that could do it. Well, anyway, he took it all out. I'm pretty sure he sent it to Putin in Russia. And I'm pretty sure Putin collected a big fee from him. I'm guessing, but I'm pretty sure. And it would have been in the billions to take care of him. So he's living, I'm sure, in a mansion. He probably has someplace between 25 and 40 guards around him. Probably a very small amount of bodyguards from the Russian Secret Service are there. There would be the inner ring protecting him. See, a lot of times bodyguard services work with rings. They'll do 3 rings. Okay? You don't hear this, but I'm telling you, this is how they do it. I used to work in law enforcement. Okay. The inner ring is the one closest to the guy. So those would be the people in the mansion, perhaps working on the cameras around the mansion, perhaps inside the mansion. And they're the ones closest to him. And there probably wouldn't be a lot of those on a single shift, maybe 3 or 4. They would be supervising what's going on. Okay? Now, the mansion is probably anywhere from 8,000 to 20,000 square feet, depending. and it's probably on several acres, and it probably has fences and a guard gate, or it might have 2 gates, and there would be a guard there. So what Putin would likely do is deploy soldiers around the estate. So they would, you'd probably have 2 on a given shift at the guardhouse. So it's easy to show up at the guardhouse to try to get entry and kill 1 guard, but when you got 2 guards, it's a lot more complicated, especially if the guardhouse is bulletproof and one of them stays inside while the other goes out. Then the situation gets rather difficult, because all he has to do is push a button, and the other guys are going to come to help him, and the house is going to go on lockdown. And Bashar Assad and his family are going to get put in safe rooms that are very, very secure. Okay, so you have a ring of people inside the property that would be watching, maybe patrol the perimeter, but it probably has sensors, maybe both. And then you'd have the most outer ring would be the guys at the gate. They might be standing outside the perimeter of the property, outside the fence. They may not do it that way. They just might greet them outside it. That would be your outer ring. Your inner ring would be the guys walking around in the property. And your most inner ring would be the guys that are inside the house or on the roof of the house as well. And there's probably a small amount of them. See, he's in the interior of Russia, so it's not, like, he's going to need 70 or 80 people. He's, some assassin could try to get over there. So you just need to protect against that. Now, when you read about assassins or you watch them on TV or in the movies, they're so lethal and deadly in the things they do. But that's not reality. Okay? It's not reality. If you ever watched that movie, Goodfellas, with, what was it, De Niro and a few others, about the mafia guys and how they grew up and got started with them in the 50s, the 60s, and how things changed with drugs in the 70s, and then I think around the late 70s or the 80s, one of them got caught, and turns witness protection, state's evidence, But how they explain in that movie how they did the hits. They didn't come at you yelling and screaming and cussing. They were friendly to you and smiling, and they would just kill you. One of the guys they killed, they told them they were going to take him and have a ceremony and make him a made man. And they took him to a house, and they got in the garage, and then they went to go in the house, and the guy walked in, and he realized there was an empty room, and then the guys behind him shot him in the back of the head. That's how they do it. They'd sneak attack, and they'd kill each other. And a lot of times the way they kill somebody is they wait for the person to travel. So if they're in Brooklyn, they don't like killing the guy in Brooklyn. If the guy can be led to travel to Miami or Atlanta or LA or wherever, Vegas, who knows where, they would prefer to go have some assassin go out there and kill him in another location. Then the New York City cops don't work the case because the guy was not killed in New York. So unless they really were enthusiastic about this, which could happen, but not all that likely, they could work with let's say, the Chicago police if the guy was killed in Chicago, but Chicago police are generally not going to solve it because the guy doesn't live there, and the killer doesn't live there, and unless they got video or eyewitnesses that could identify, they got nothing, and they get away with it, you know. A lot of times you'll see hitmen will do this. Some jerk goes to them, not a well-placed mafia or organized crime figure in a gang or in a crew or whatever you want to call it. He goes to him, gets a referral from some inside criminal, and he contacts the guy and says, well, I want to get this guy killed. Why? Oh, he did something to my wife, business problem, he sued me, anything, right? Okay, so then he tells him, all right, meet me, and he finds a place like maybe in the woods, right? Or it's difficult, a rural area where there's not going to be people, and he knows places like this, and he directs the guy to go away from main flow traffic where they're not going to be disturbed. So he tells the guy he'll meet him there at lunchtime, and then he gets there at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, first light, and he parks his car someplace and then gets out, far away, gets out of the car and walks to a vantage point with a good set of binoculars, stays concealed in the trees or the bushes, and watches to see when this guy comes, if he told the cops about it and he's being set up, cops are gonna get there early because they gotta be there to arrest them. And he'll see the cops getting set up. The cops aren't going to come a day or two before. I mean, if they're trying to catch an international super criminal on the order of Adolf Hitler or something, but they're not going to do that. They get there in an hour or two before the guy gets there, so they can set up, and then he sees it, and if he sees them setting up, he just takes his binoculars, very stealthily goes back to his car, drives away, and he never talks to that person again. That's the end of it. But if the guy comes by himself, he goes and meets the guy, and he'll talk to the guy and ask him, who you want killed, and then, he already told the guy he wants a down payment, 25 or 40,000 or 100,000, whatever he's charging this guy, to bring it in cash, and the guy brings the down payment. Then he asks him, how did you get the money? And he tells him how he collected the down payment cash. And he says, does anybody know that you're doing this? No. Did you tell anybody? You mean, no. And when he finishes answering a full set of no's, he takes his pistol out and sitting in the car with the guy or sitting at a table, and he just shoots the guy in the head once or twice, picks up the money and walks away. That frequently happens too, So, anyway, back to this idiot Giuliani in Syria. He's tried to kill the Christians, He's still after the Christians. They got a church 2-3 days ago and stole a lot of stuff out of the church. They didn't burn it. They didn't hurt or kill anybody. So he persecutes the Christians. Did Trump care? Heck no. Trump relieved them of the sanctions. Did Trump care about persecuting Christians? No. He released no sanctions on this guy. So this guy waits till Trump lifts the sanctions and it goes through, probably so he could get money out of the banks, because a lot of people were donating. Some countries gave him $20 billion. So right after that cleared, I believe, like a week after, he started persecuting, this time, the Druze. And he was a little stealthy about it, using militia groups that are not part of the Syrian government, and they started a war with the Druze, as in killing a lot of them and looting them and ripping their houses off, burning houses, shooting them in their houses. They killed quite a few. It's a genetic cleansing. These people there are Sunni jihadist, terrorist Muslims of a criminal serial killer mental capacity. And they will kill the Shiite Muslims, the Alawite Muslims, the Druze, and Christians, and Jews, and anybody they don't like. They're into a racial purification or cleansing of Syria. They probably feel once they eliminate everybody that's not a like-minded psychopath like them, they can attack they can flourish, that their phony God, who doesn't exist as a God, will bless them and they'll make Syria a great place. This is the general drift of what these morons are thinking. So they want to get rid of everybody, okay? But this week it's the Druze. Now Israel has gone into southwestern Syria and put a lot of troops and tanks there to protect the Druze community there. They didn't go after them. They went some miles away in a place called Salawid, another community where the Jews were living, where the Israelis did not set up a military to protect them. So the militia go in there, start killing the Druze, killing guys, and then they fight back. I put a video up on my YouTube. These lunatics, I think it was the militia, went into a hospital in Salawid, in Syria, where the wounded Druze were. They ran through the hospital machine gunning the Druze and killing them in the hospital. They were in hospital beds, bandaged and, tubes and IV. They killed them. You know who you're dealing with now, right? So, this idiot Giuliani says he's sending his army down there to stop the fighting. Well, his army was backing up the militant group, and they were attacking the Druze. He was lying. He was using his drones to attack the Druze. He sent his tanks to attack the Druze, mortars. The Druze reclaimed some territory in the Salawad place that the militants and HTS government captured. The Druze even took prisoners. So then finally Giuliani sent a convoy of tanks to go down there and finish this. So Israel sent some jet planes up there and started attacking the tank convoy, which had armored vehicles of another nature, also personnel carriers, I guess, and they turned around and went away. They didn't want to go. So Israel saved the day. What the fear that Israel has is this. Some of these soldiers of HTS that were involved in this in the last 36, 48 hours are wearing a patch on their uniform, on their Syrian army uniform. And that patch is an ISIS patch. ISIS. So we don't want ISIS anywhere near us in Syria because they're crazy. And it won't be a long wait till they start attacking us. They'll try to infiltrate, so we'll have to keep a lot of scrutiny on the border. You know, drones, soldiers, armored vehicles, patrols, sensors. And then they'll quickly realize they can't get into Israel. So they'll figure out ways to attack us from inside Syria and then run away before we can get them. They could try digging tunnels. You know, if they could, well, I don't think they'd be able to do that. We'd see it. But they would be a real threat to Israel. So Netanyahu, in no way, shape, or form, wants to see this come to pass. So we're stopping the Syrian army with these militants from getting into southwest Syria, positioning themselves near where our military is, and then start trying to drive us out of Syria.
Uh-huh.
Now, if we're driven out of this country, Syria, they'll move in and they'll get rockets and missiles and they'll start launching and run away. You know, hit them in, you know, hide and go seek. We don't need this stuff. They'll kill the Alawite Muslims. They'll kill the Shiite Muslims. They'll kill the Christians. If there's any Jews, which I doubt there are, they could kill them. They'll kill the Druze. I'm not sure what they'll do with the Bedouins, if there are Bedouins here. They might also kill Hamas and Hezbollah, because they're generally Shiite. So to teach this HTS clown a lesson, Netanyahu bombed not his palace directly in Damascus, but he bombed right outside his palace as a warning. And we blew up some military facilities, killed officers, killed soldiers. And Netanyahu's not playing with this guy. Okay? And we destroyed the equivalent of his Pentagon. He hasn't quit yet. He found some guy, he corrupted some guy to say he's a Druze religious spokesperson or something. And he said he reached a ceasefire with Giuliani, and then we discovered that was false. The actual spokesperson for the Druze in that area came out publicly and said, I'm the authority, not this clown. And no, there's no ceasefire. So the situation is escalating. Israel has soldiers on the border with Syria now. And it looks like there's going to be a ground incursion. We're going to go in. And it may be we're going to start occupying more land in Syria. I suspect that'll be it. We may try to annex it as part of Israel, make those Druze guys some sort of Israel residence or something. I don't know what we're going to do. In the middle of this fracas, about 1,000 Druze illegally entered Syria from Lebanon and Israel to go help their Druze brothers in Syria kill the enemy. So now Israel dispatched the Israeli police, probably the border police, but maybe not. The border police are frequently Druze. It said police. Normally it'd be border, but maybe regular police. It could be military police. I don't know who. Some agency to go in there and get these guys and get them out before they get killed. There's Druze in border police and in the military of Israel, and they may start complaining to Netanyahu. They want to be given leave and form a military wing of just them and go in there. I think Netanyahu is bright enough to understand, just stick to the normal military protocols, and he's probably going to do pretty good. Now, let's go to prophecy and see what we can learn from this. What can we learn? And it's going to be an interesting one. Okie dokie. We want to go to Isaiah 17, I believe. If I'm wrong, I will regroup, but I believe we're looking at Isaiah 17. You can ask questions, and I'll get to them. Verse 1. The burden of Damascus, behold. Oh, that's the capital of Syria, just to fill you in. King David ruled from Damascus for several years. It was part of Judah. Okay? So you'll hear that come up. Okay. Behold, Damascus is taken away. Let's check the words because this is English, and English is a lousy language to translate Hebrew. Okay, the word for taken away is 5493. Depart. Let's see how Strong's flipped it into English. Call back, decline, depart. Yeah, depart sounds not bad. Taken away from being a city. Let's check the word for city. I'm getting a translation problem here. Let's dig. No, it can't be a city. Okay, a city, and it shall be ruinous heap. Okay, let's make sure we got this right. Ruinous 4654 is the Strong's number in the Hebrew. It sounds like they got it translated correctly. Mifla. Something fallen. Rune. Ruinous heap is something fallen in a ruin. Okay, they got that one right. Verse 2. The cities of Aroer are forsaken. Now, where is Aroer? Aroer. Let's Aroer. Let's find out what that city is today. Well, there were three cities in the Bible with that name. How curious. One was Jordan, and Israel also. But this one is on the Arnon River, which is on the north bank of the Arnon River. Let's see where the Arnon River is, and then we'll have our answer. Well, it's in Jordan, I'm understanding that to be. Well, let's run with it. The cities of Aurora are forsaken, they shall be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. Does he mean flocks of people or flocks of sheep? Probably sheep. I'm going to kill the air conditioner, it's freezing here. But the phrase, none shall make them afraid, usually applies to people, not animals. So, could be saying that it's for us. Okay, verse 3. The fortress also shall cease from Ephraim. And Ephraim was living in Syria one time. And the kingdom from Damascus, that's probably Israel. And the remnant of Syria, they shall be as, no, I think we're talking about today. They shall be as the glory of the children of Israel. See, this is twisted. The kingdom, let's check that word. Mamlaka. Could be the government or the dominion. It doesn't really need to be the kingdom. It's really dominion. So the only thing that Damascus has dominion over is Syria. So that's going to stop, I would say. So, wait a minute. I'm in 18. I got to get back to 17. What's wrong here? 17. The fortress, the dominion, I guess, shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria, they shall be as the glory. See, the words as the glory don't exist in the Bible. It's the word that's in the Bible is kabod. It means glory. So what it's saying shall be glory. And then it has the word ben, which means children of Israel. So it's saying kabod ben Yisrael. So it's going to be the glory of the Israelites, these remnant of Syria, saith Jehovah of hosts. So they're probably slaves. Yeah, I'm talking today, okay? And in that day it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob, Kabod Yaakov, in that day, unless we're talking about the past, but I don't think so, it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. So there's a food shortage apparently. And it shall be as when the siege would do that, because there wouldn't be any imported foods. And it shall be as when the harvest man gathereth the corn and reapeth the ears with his arm. And it shall be as he that gathereth ears in the valley of Rephaim. Yet gleaning grapes shall be left in it as the shaking of an olive tree, 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uppermost bough, 4 or 5 in the outmost fruitful branches thereof, saith Jehovah Elohim Yisrael. Now we're in verse 7. In that day shall a man look to his Maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Israel, Kadosh Yisrael. Well, that's your, I would say, redemption. And I believe it's referencing the glory of God of Israel in the temple here. And he shall not look to the altars, the work of his hands, neither shall respect that which his fingers have made, either the graves or the images. In that day shall his strong cities be. Now, who are we talking about here? See, strong cities be. So who is this talking about? Is this talking about Israel? I covered this months ago. I don't think so. In that day shall his strong cities be as a forsaken bough and an uppermost branch, which they left because of the children of Israel, and there shall be desolation. They left because of the Israelites coming in, you see? So it's not pertaining to Israel. You got to be careful with this. The translators don't know what they're doing in English. And when you look at it, they just keep translating each other's work. They don't really go to the Greek and the Hebrew. They left, okay? See, so it's not talking about Israel. It's not talking about Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Haifa. Okay, I don't believe that. Of course it is. Because thou hast forgotten the God of thy salvation, and hast not been mindful of the rock of the strength thereof, shall thou plant pleasant plants, and shall set it with strange slips. Now it sounds like it's talking about Israel. See, guess it's very confusing. I don't want to dwell on it a lot because we got a lot to cover. In the day shalt thou make thy plant to grow, and in the morning shalt thou make thy seed to flourish, but the harvest shall be a heap in the day of grief. Well, that's the day of vengeance, I'm assuming, and of desperate sorrow. Woe to the multitude of many people, which make a noise like the noise of the seas, and to the rushing of the nations. Wait a minute. What word is this that we're dealing with here? Well, it means to gather. It's not a word, they're taking it like a word like heathen. To the rushing of gathering, make a rushing like the rushing of mighty waters. They're calling it nation. The gathering shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but God shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like a rolling thing before the whirlwind that gets run out, busted up. And behold, at evening tide, trouble, and before the morning he is not. So they got trouble at evening, then in the morning they're gone. They're cut off apparently, or they run away. This is the portion of them that spoil us, and a lot of them that rob us. Speaking of Israel. Okay, so the beginning we go, the burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. Now, it looks like we're moving there rather rapidly. At the same time, America's getting all the fires and floods, which I got to cover, and then we got earthquakes and volcanoes to deal with, and birth pangs, and it's at the same time. Pretty interesting. Now we got it in another chapter. Let me check my notes where I gotta go next. Prayer requests. Let's get those. Okay, ES and CM, Echo Sierra and Charlie Mike. Two people, Echo Sierra ES and Charlie Mike CM. Pray that they don't need dental work, so we want healing for the teeth and the gums and the mouth. ES, Echo Sierra, and CM, Charlie Mike, healing for the gums, the teeth, and the mouth, so they don't need dental work, which is usually painful and expensive. And we want to pray again for a cat named Leo. Still has some sort of a wound on the front leg, I think, and it looks like it has some bite marks, something bit it, and it's not, I don't know what it is, but the cat can walk on it, but doesn't want to put any weight on it, so it just doesn't walk too much. Not a great thing. So let's pray for healing for Leo the cat. And we want to go Jeremiah 49, around verse 23, we pick up Syria in there. That's our very popular verse. So we go to Jeremiah 49. We'll pick it up in 23. Concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded, and Arpad, for they have heard evil tidings. They are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea. It cannot be quiet. All right, let's look around at what Hamath is. It's in Upper Syria, okay? And the other one, Arpad, let's see. Alfresh Pay Dalet, Arpad. Come on. Pretty sure it's going to come up in Syria, but let's see. Strong's. Gosh, I hate this Apple thing. You just touch it and you lose it. Yeah, that's in Syria. So it's Syria and Syria, okay. There might be cities with the same name today, and there may not be, I don't know. For they have heard evil tidings. They are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the seas. It cannot be quiet. Damascus is waxed feeble. I'd say we're there now. And turneth herself to flee. Well, they've retreated, but flee not yet. And fear hath seized on her. Anguish and sorrow have taken her as a woman in travail. A woman in travail, that means a woman getting ready to give birth. So we're getting a hint here of birth pangs, maybe, right? How is the city of praise, that's when King David ruled there, not left the city of my love, my joy? Well, that was when David was there, right? Not when Bashar Assad was there, or his father, or any of these other sluggards. Therefore her young men shall fall in her streets. Not quite yet, no, not yet. And all the men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith Jehovah of hosts. That day is probably the day of vengeance. And I will kindle a fire in the wall of Damascus. Who's going to kindle a fire? Jehovah. But let's check the words on this, because they mess it up in English. No, it just says it's kindle. Kindle, and that should be esh. Yeah, it says kindle fire, the wall. Yeah, wall. Kindle fire, wall, Damascus, and it shall be consumed or burnt up. The palaces of Ben-Hadad. Ben-Hadad was some phony god or ruler or something like that. Well, the palace, the big one, was where Bashar Assad used to live. And Giuliani is living there now. And we dropped the bomb outside the entrance to give him a warning. Well, so you could see that there's trouble for Damascus. Now it talks about Hazor. Let's see what the heck Hazor is. I don't have all this geography committed to memory or anything like that. It's a city in northeastern Palestine. It could be in Syria. Okay, let's. Okay. So we're there. Now, the only way you really got to do this is you have to look at all these signs and birth pangs together. Then you get the idea. And a lot of the people are afraid to do it. Oh, I'm just going to be wrong. I'm going to stay in America. Yeah, they're going to stay in America and they're going to get killed there in the very near future because they're not going to leave. Hebrew is right to left, yeah. Yeah, the iPad's upside down because I got the charger in there, and if I do it the other way, I got the charger pressing against me, and then it breaks the cable all the time. So, it doesn't amount to a hill of beans. I'm not broadcasting on this device. I'm just using it for reference, so it doesn't mean anything. Okay, take a peek here. I don't have any questions in the chat. I do try to answer questions if you put them up. All right, next. Let me read you some of the latest things that are going on today. Fire NATO's wildfires up in Colorado and Utah. A fire NATO is the wind gets the fire and whips it around. It happens, but it's a rare occurrence that happens. Now you got them in Utah and Colorado. California just had an over 80,000 acre fire in central California, the Madre fire near San Luis Obispo. Now, I also want to talk about a Laguna fire that has burned so far 15,714 acres and is 40% contained, so it's 60% a child running wild. And it's located in the Santa Fe National Forest in northern New Mexico. Riverside, California. 2 fires merged into one. Very recently, and it's over 200 acres already. Now, we had other fires merge. I think Utah fire came into Colorado, if I remember correctly, and it merged together. I mean, I don't know. It's Fire's emerging. It's nuts, okay? We don't normally have that, okay? Alaska, just as an aside, just had a 7.3 earthquake. They're doing a tsunami watch. Some people are saying it was a 7.2. Take your pick. Iceland, volcano erupts, toxic gas comes out, people need to evacuate. Now we're going to talk about Canada. I'm going to lay something on you that could be rather shocking for you. This year, to date, Canada has over 8 million acres burned, with 2.5 million acres just in Manitoba. 8 million acres is 12,500 square miles. 12,500 square miles is 1.5 times the size of Israel. And as I'm speaking now, Canada must have at least 50 minimum, maybe 80 active fires going on. Alaska has it up and down the Pacific coast there. Now, we can't figure out why Canada is getting all these fires. But let me run this by you. Now, I can't give you a written guarantee in Scripture that this is correct. But let me run it by you. Because if it is correct, you're not going to, it wouldn't be written in the Word plain as day. We know that the enemy that's going to invade the daughter of Babylon is going to come in from the north, the utmost part. Now, I've told you this for years. The Bering Straits up in Alaska, which has fires just like Canada, by the way. Big amount of fires. Russia, North Korea, and China could all flow in that way. It's 43, 48 miles across. So for boats, that's going to be 2 hours or so. 2.5 hours, maybe, something like that. So you could just stuff soldiers in with their equipment and let them stand until they get there, or just sit on the deck. So they get to the other side, which is Alaska. And these people, when they get to America, they're going to kill babies, women, children, rape. They're going to be awful. Be brutal, mean killers. Now, there's these sleeper agents that are already in America that are like the caterpillars in Jeremiah 50:51. They're already there. They found a truck in New York City on 42nd Street. You may not know, but that's the heart of Manhattan. The critical area of Manhattan is not there. The critical area is down by Wall Street. But anyway, it was a van, I believe, full of propane, gas tanks, and gas, another nature or something, maybe gasoline, I don't know. They got it before it got detonated. The whole story about that is still, it's a breaking news story, so it'll probably be to later today, we'll figure out more details on that. It doesn't sound to me that it was, this was aimed at killing innocent people. So who do we know that kills innocent people? What religion does that? Okay? That should be your answer. All right, now. this enemy is going to come in through Alaska. Are the people in Alaska Americans? Yeah. Are they going to be a little bit difficult to kill? Yeah, because they're spread out all over Alaska and it's rough terrain, and the invaders may not want to waste their time chasing them around. There's not going to be a lot of loot because there's not a lot of rich ones except in the big cities, and they may loot, pillage those people in the big cities because they are part of America and it will happen to them. Now, I don't know of any fires over there in the big cities, but let's talk about Canada. Is Canada part of America? No, you can't say that. They're not participating in the dirty deeds of America. Is the government of Canada anti-Israel and anti-Semitic? Yeah, they're also crazy and, you know, stupid and nuts and everything else, Trudeau. So, yeah, they're an enemy, but every country's an enemy of Israel. Even the government of Israel sometimes looks like an enemy of Israel. So, the Canadian people did not do what America did. They're not a partaker. They're an ally, but they don't get along that well these days with Trump and so forth. So why would there be all these fires? And their smoke is bad. It's reaching all the way into America. So the Canadians got the smoke bad. And it's summertime, you know. My maybe theory that I can't prove is that God could be driving the Canadians out before the attack on America. Yeah, you heard me. Why? Because they're not America, but if they remain there, they're going to suffer the same fate as America because the invaders are not going to be able to differentiate in their mini brains. They don't have mini brains. You know, they're psychotic references. The Canadians are infidels, and they're not going to differentiate them from the American infidels. They're both English speaking, a lot of Caucasian, and they're going to look like America, wear the same clothes, same mannerisms, cars, and the streets look like American streets and stuff like that. The buses, the trucks, they all look the same, right? If you went to Vietnam, it wouldn't look the same. If you went to Taiwan, it wouldn't look the same. If you went to Japan, it wouldn't look the same. But Canada, America look very much the same. So what would they do to the Canadians? They would do what they would do to the Americans: brutally kill them, raping, killing babies, grab them by the legs, smack their heads, all the evil, wicked things, like what happened to Israel on October 7th. Remember, first it happens to Israel, the good and the bad, then it happens to the nations. That's in Scripture. Okay? So Israel already had it. They cut a fetus out of a woman, they put a baby in an oven, they burned mothers and children alive. They're sicko. All right? So this is the type of thing you're going to get in America, but it would also happen in Canada because they wouldn't differentiate. So he might be driving the people out of Canada that don't deserve what's going to fall on them. Of course, it's really headed for America. Now, how does that work and where are they going to go? I don't know. So maybe I'm wrong. He also says he's going to destroy all the nations in Jeremiah 30:11 that he scattered all the Israelites into all the time. Right? Well, that would include Canada. Now, let's get a population as to how many Jews there are in Canada now. And that doesn't take into account lost tribes, of which the Indians in Canada are more than likely the same family or tribe or mishpach or whatever of Indians in America. I mean, this borderline, Canada and the United States, didn't exist when the Indians were there. Get it? All right. So, for their sakes, God may be trying to drive them out early. For the sake of the lost tribes, the Indians. You understand? As well as the unsaved Israelites. So let's take a look. I know there's a lot. $393,000. That's a lot. Wouldn't you think? That's rough cut 400,000 people. That's a lot. God doesn't want to lose them. He wants to get, I'm checking the picture, he wants to get them out. So, how this is going to play out, I don't know. But I was praying and asked the Lord, why all the fires in Canada? And, that's what I get. Now, what about Hawaii? Are they going to escape this? What about the U.S. Virgin Islands? What about Puerto Rico? What about Guam? These are all parts of America, more or less. Hawaii, way more so. I don't know. I don't know what'll happen to Hawaii. They'll probably attack it too, because they'll be nervous about it, because it could get to China, which means it can get to North Korea and China. See, if they go into the Bering Straits, China, North Korea, and Russia would go in, and then drop down into America. And if Canada's there, if Canada doesn't resist, they'd probably quarter the troops in the houses in Canada. I don't know what they would do. North Korean and Chinese see these people, the way they live in Canada, the way they live in China, they're going to start killing and plundering and looting and raping. You can count on it. You can count on it. That's going to be awful. So he may be getting them out of there. That's my theory. We'll have to see how it plays out. Where would you go? Where would these people go? Well, I don't know where they're going to go. They can't really go in the wilderness because there's no wilderness operation right now, unless they're going to be the ones starting it. They can't really come into Israel and immigrate. Israel's not going to cooperate. Well, they might with the Jews, but they wouldn't with the lost tribes, and they wouldn't with the true believers, the Old New Testament believers. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But that was what I came up with. Okay. We shall continue. Oh, questions. Let me see if I'm getting any questions. Everything happens fast, guys. The daughter of Babylon, which is America Falls, it says suddenly in a day and an hour. It's really fast, guys. The birth of a nation in a day. We'll cover that later. In a day. It happens in a day. That's not 1948. It's for God. It's restoring to God. Okay. That's the redemption. When Yeshua appears in the clouds, and when we see him, we get everlasting life if we're a believer. And he pours the Spirit out on the Israelites before that happens, so they are believers. And if you read Zechariah 12:10, or if you read all of Zechariah 12, you get the idea there. Pretty plain. And you read it with Matthew 24:30, you read it with Revelation chapter 1, verse 7, you read it with 1 John 3:2, and very importantly, you read it with John 6, verse 40. All right. I did a lot of that yesterday and the day before, so I'm not going to keep going over and over and over that. Okay. I want to read you a letter that I got from a believer that is a subscriber. And I want you to listen to this letter. Here we go. Moshe, I believe it comes. This has to be what we have been watching for and see now, and also we will see suddenly. A lot happens suddenly with Daughter of Babylon going down suddenly comes to his temple. That's the glory of God of Israel. Nation born in a day. Lots of suddenly scriptures too. But for now, it seems like the birth pangs are like almost to the point of crowning. That's when the baby's head, maybe the baby's face as well, or you're able to see it, it doesn't pop back and forth, it's coming out. There has been such an uptick in earthquakes, too. Large ones, especially in the last couple of weeks. More and larger fires from lightning starting the fire, as well as people starting them, covering lots of ground and moving into more states. And now we see the fires joining into larger fires. Then we have seen more volcanoes in the past month or so erupting. And this past week, in particular, a lot. Flooding, which is a tempest. Flooding comes from storms. A tempest is a storm. Storms is interesting, but is happening a lot, also a lot too. Texas, North Carolina, and other states, And then D.C., New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania all had major flooding over this weekend. I see some hurricane and tropical storm activity beginning too. Yeah, the storm's brewing up. Those are tempests. Only DOB scripture about water are these two that I see. Jeremiah 51:55. Because the Lord hath spoiled Babylon and destroyed out of her the great voice when he was when her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voices is uttered. So maybe the waves are not after the end to put the fires out. It might be that also, but it might be before, like now. Maybe that's where it is. See? There's another verse. Jeremiah 51:42. The sea is come up upon Babylon. She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. But that happens at the end. We haven't seen the sea come up over the daughter of Babylon yet. Okay. So at the same time, that was this person's letter. I thought it was pretty good. Now, again, at the same time as all this is me talking, 7 or even 8, you could say, countries we're having a war with. We have 7 fronts. So I'll name them. You got Lebanon, you got Gaza. We've been fighting in Gaza every day, and we're still fighting in Lebanon, attacking Hezbollah positions and targeted assassinations and so forth. Then you got Yemen, who keeps attacking us every day. Last night they shot a missile, we took it down. Okay? Now we're at 3. Iraq is dormant right now, but they will attack us again, they said. Then you got 5, which is Syria, right? Then you got 6, which is Iran, which attacked us and is waiting to do it again. Now let me do a summary of this again. I think I'm missing something here. So you got Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Yemen. I guess the next one is Egypt, which has 100,000 troops on our border. So they're in the siege already. So that's 7. I don't think we can get to 8. So Israel's got 7 fronts. Oh, I'm sorry, I do have 8. I apologize. The West Bank. That's a rather active front. So we do have 8. Now, you got to combine that with the signs, with the flooding, with the fires, with the earthquakes, with the volcanoes. Okay? And you got to look at what Iran did to us and what they're threatening. All of this, okay? Now you put a whole new spin on these birth pangs, didn't you? And Satan doesn't want you watching the Middle East. He wants you watching Ukraine and Russia. Now, you might read that the Syrian army withdrew from that city called Sweda. Yeah, they did, because they didn't want to get killed by Israeli planes. They're not settling anything. What might happen is the Sweda city might declare independence from Syria and autonomously call themselves a Druze region. They may try to get us to annex them as part of Israel and stuff like that. So Israel may take more land away from Syria. The heads of the Israeli government, by their actions, seem to not care at all for this guy from Syria. And I can completely understand why. They're right. I mean, this guy's going to turn bad on us. They're right. I mean, why wait to see it happen? That's something like Trump or Biden would do. You know he's going to do it. So is Netanyahu wrong with this? No, he's not. I always tell you, I give him credit where credit's due. This guy is a threat waiting to happen. Take him out earlier. It's much easier and less painful. So yeah, Netanyahu's okay with that one. And there also would be a complete end of the presence of the Bedouins in this town, Sweda, which don't like the Druze. And they would probably put this Sheikh al-Hajari as the supreme governor of Sweda. I don't know what'll happen with that. So things are pretty interesting. Now, at the same time, as you're looking at these, the earthquakes and the volcanoes, the fires, so forth, and Israel, well, you got to look at what's going on in the daughter of Babylon. It's deteriorating inside. You've got millions of sleeper agents there. You got trouble with the neighbors. You've got Trump irritating, 50 countries with sanctions? Now he's telling Russia, you got until August 1st to look forward to sanctions of 100% if you don't make a peace deal with Ukraine. Putin's sitting there, who is this lunatic trying to dictate to the world? He tells you listen to Trump or else I give you sanctions. The world's standing up to him. They're saying, what are we going to do? Let this guy just bark sanctions at us? And then he's running the world without even needing a military or taking any risk or anything like that. It's just stupid. Putin ain't going to put up with it. Trump's trying to get Europe to do sanctions with Iran also, effective August 1st. They're not going to play ball. It's going to drive them to want to make BRICS work better, quicker, and sooner. So, it's a nutty situation. It's a crazy situation. And what do we do? You got to accept it. It's happening. It's too much at the same time. Okay? Trump is scared of war. Who has he ever gone to war with? Well, he went to war with the Houthis if you want to call it that. And he stopped. He got scared. And he said, I won't attack you anymore. Leave my ships alone in the house. He said, okay. Then what did he do? He attacked with a few B-2 bombers and some other jets, the physical nuclear facilities that Iran had, hitting their ports. They go in and go out doorways and the air ducts, And then he went back to America. So then what happened? Well, then Iran shot some 14 missiles at his military building in Qatar that had been evacuated. And he says, Iran called me up and said, how about 1 o'clock? And Trump says, yeah, I told them it's okay. And now we find out that they shot 14 missiles. You'd think that Trump said, yeah, you could shoot 14 missiles. And Trump tried to take them down. I understand that one of them got through. So if he agreed with Iran, why would he take them down? So Trump is, out of his fear, has become a two-bit liar that gets caught, just like the Ayatollah in Iran. Now, guys, you may get offended by this, but it's a reality. He won't fight. Trump won't fight. They know it. Putin doesn't take him seriously. Trump's own words. Putin talks nice on the phone with me. Then when we hang up, he starts bombing. Putin's playing Trump for a sucker. He knows Trump's scared to do anything. Iran knows Trump is scared to do anything. And there's all these mysterious cargo planes showing up in Iran from China and Russia. I wonder what they're bringing in. Zucchini, watermelon, or missiles? What do you think they're bringing in? Trump still has one aircraft carrier here. The Nimitz is still running around the Middle East by Oman, near Iran. Can Iran do a preemptive attack on somebody in the Middle East? The American military bases, hitting the refineries and the ports that are used to move the oil out of the other oil-producing countries that they could have access to with their weapons, which would be Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, which I think is a friend of theirs, and Jordan and Saudi Arabia, and then the Houthis in Yemen would help. And in addition, they can shut the Persian Gulf. Now, 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days, it could have been 3 on the outside, Iran confiscated a ship. They took the crew captive and they took the ship and they said they were carrying illegal oil and their papers weren't good, and they confiscated the ship full of millions of tons of oil. They confiscated the ship by the authority of the supreme leader of Iran. So is that not looking like the beginning of the closing of the Persian Gulf, or is it looking like the beginning of the Persian Gulf? What do you think? Because Trump is weak. Trump doesn't know that he has to make a name for himself or nobody's going to take him seriously. And he can sling them sanctions out like crazy. Who do you think is going to pay for the sanctions? You are in America. He's not a good guy. He's afraid. The American military is probably far worse than we have any idea. He uses Ukraine as a puppet and feeds them with weapons, and he does the same with Israel. When they eat tossed salad, they get afraid. All right, anybody giving me questions? I'm not done yet. We got more to cover. Okay. Um, Jeremiah 30. I want to start putting the stuff together with you with the Bible. Now, I know the Bible stuff that I'm talking about, you don't hear it in the churches, but guys, you do hear it in your Bible and you read it in your Bible. So you got to, wake up and decide who you're going to listen to. Jeremiah 30. Where we were? Come on, where are we? Jeremiah 30. I'll go through it. The word that came to Jeremiah from Jehovah, saying, Thus speaketh Jehovah Elohim Yisrael. Thus speaketh Jehovah God of Israel. He calls himself the God of Israel. I never read him calling himself the God of the churches, saying, Write thee all the word, because if you're a true believer in Yeshua, you're in Israel, that's why. Saying, Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book or in a scroll, a safer would be the word, safer, I believe. Let's check. I'm usually pretty good. Yeah, safer. No, then wait. Yeah, safer. I did it too fast. Okay. For, lo, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel. He doesn't say my people, the church, does he? And Judah, saith Jehovah. And or maybe this is because Yeshua wasn't on earth yet and he didn't convert to Christianity yet. You believe Yeshua reverted or went to Christianity? Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, that's not true. The captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith Jehovah, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that Jehovah spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. That's talking about the next great Exodus. For thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Now you see this trembling in Zechariah 12 when they lay the siege on us, which is already in place to varying extent right now. A siege is a surrounding, and when they surround you, they attack, hoping to mess you up and weaken you and then invade you, but it never gets that far. But they are surrounding us and attacking us. Look at how many countries have been doing this. For thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask you now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loin as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Now, that's likely the Israelites clutching their guts out of fear from the siege, like they're giving birth, the birth of a nation in a day. We'll deal with this deeper. Verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Gog and Magog, they don't get saved out of it. This is Jacob's trouble. This is not Gog and Magog. This is now. Zechariah 12, Malachi 3 and 4. Now. For it shall come to pass that in that day, saith Jehovah of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck. Well, we got an internal yoke from our own government, and we got foreign yokes from the other governments, like America. We'll break the yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. This whole thing with October 7th was to get Israel into the war and then use Israel as a puppet to control the Muslim states without losing American soldiers. And that's what they were trying to do. And we had a bad leader that agreed with it. But they shall serve Jehovah Elohim. and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. It's going to be in the line of David. It's elected unto man to die only once, and David already died. He's not coming back to life here. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar. That's the Exodus. And thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Yaakov shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee, to salvation thee. That's the word. The word there is Yesha, which is the root word of Yeshua's name. Yeshua's name would mean like provider or giver of salvation. Yesha is salvation. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. Well, we've been getting punished for almost 2 years with these wars. Okay, he's going to destroy all the nations. He's in Amos 9:9. He says he scattered the Israelites into all the nations. So the same thing pops up in Jeremiah 46, verse 28. They don't want to teach you this, but heck, you should know it's there. For thus saith Jehovah, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. Trump still hangs around, though. Maybe he's just using us. They seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one, and the multitude of thy iniquity of lawlessness, because thy sins were increased. And when the 2,000 years of Hosea 6:1 and 2 are over, we get healed of all of this. So we're still suffering. Remember, he says, with the wound of an enemy. I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thy lawlessness, because thy sins were increased. So a lot of you wonder why you're suffering now. Well, he chastens those he loves, right? So you're getting chastened, you're getting punished, and you're soon going to have everlasting life when he appears, and you'll have a body like a young person, probably 25-ish or something like that, and you'll frolic about like the calf out of the stall. You won't get tired, and you'll be healed up of all these problems. So we just wait. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable. We can't cure it. For the multitude of thy lawlessness, because thy sins were increased, I have done these things unto thee. Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured. They don't believe it, but it will happen. And all thy adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee, see, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith Jehovah, because they called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. Thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Yaakov's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places, and the city shall be built it upon her own heap, that's Jerusalem, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, oh, I'll bet, and the voice of them that make merry. And I will multiply them, and they shall not be few. I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small. The small means insignificant in this matter. Their children also shall be as aforetime, and their congregation shall be established before me, and I will punish all that oppress them, and their nobles and their nobles shall be of themselves. That would be like the judges, the two witnesses come from Israel. So when you see these characters, well, it says, and their governor shall proceed from the midst of them. So that's the judges, really. They come from Israel. So these characters from other countries telling you that they're the two witnesses, you could laugh at them. From the midst of them. And I will cause him to draw near, and he shall approach unto me. For who is this that engaged his heart to approach unto me, saith Jehovah? It's probably referencing the two witnesses. And you shall be my people, and I will be your God. Behold, the whirlwind of the Lord goeth forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind, and it shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. The fierce anger of the Lord shall not return until he have done it, and until he have performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days you shall understand it. It is the latter days, and we understand it. And the whirlwind is a storm, a tempest, and that's your floods. Where do the flood waters come from normally, other than when God opens up the heavens and stuff? It comes from the rain. Okay. Now I think we got to go to, I think it's the last book in Isaiah. Maybe it's 64. I gotta look for something. I'm gonna look for it. Not gonna take a long time. This is it. I gotta get the right verse. We go to Isaiah 66, verse 5. Hear the word of Jehovah, you that tremble at his word. That would be us, right? Your brethren that hated you, that's the Israelites that resent the believers, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let Jehovah be glorified, but he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. Got this work. Yeah, praise the Lord. I like that. They shall be ashamed. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of the Lord of Jehovah that rendereth recompense to his enemies. So it looks like the temple does come first. How about that? It doesn't tell us that the glory of the Lord is in the temple, but it does imply it strongly, a voice of Jehovah that rendereth recompense to, but the temple seems to be there before Jeremiah 12, verse 6. That's what I'm getting out of this. Before she travailed, that means give birth, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Well, that would be Yeshua. Who hath heard such a thing? Who hath seen such things? Shall the earth be made, or the land of Israel could mean, okay, it's Haaretz, be made to bring forth in one day, or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travaileth, she brought forth her children. Are we travailing now? For crying out loud, yeah. Remember that letter I read you? The person said it's like the baby's crowning. Birth pangs are pretty big and painful. So what is he telling us here? He says, this is Isaiah 66, verse 8. Who hath heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Israel. Or shall a nation, the word is goyim, nation, be born at once? For as soon, now he's giving you the reference here. He's letting you know it's going to be a big miracle. For as soon as Zion, that's the land now, it means a dry, parched place. It's pronounced Sion. The English is Zion. Travailed, she brought forth her children. That means it's the appearing of the Son of Man in the clouds. Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth? In other words, should I take Israel to this point with the birth pangs and the travail and not make them, not give them the everlasting life? When you read Jeremiah 31, it gives us a heart of flesh, not a hard heart of stone. He puts the law in our inward parts, in our heart. Everyone, they shall all know me, from the least to the greatest, referencing Israel, okay? Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth, saith Jehovah? Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, saith thy God? Rejoice you with Jerusalem, and be glad with her, you that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all you that mourn for her. That you may suck and be satisfied with the breasts of her consolation, that you may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river. The peace, the shalom is what it means, the shalom. The shalom just constantly flows like a river. We're going to flow some shalom our way in a few minutes. Yes, we will. Courtesy of Jehovah. And the glory of the goyim, the heathen, like of the wealth and the riches they'll be bringing. I lost my place. Wait. No, it's here. Like the glory of the heathen, like a flowing stream. Then shall you suck, you shall be borne upon her sides and be dandled on her knees. That's Jerusalem. So it looks like we'll be there, self included. As one whom his mother comforteth, so will I comfort you. This is fantastic. You shall be comforted in Jerusalem. And when you see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb. And the hand of the Lord shall be known towards his servant, and his indignation towards his enemies. For behold, Jehovah will come with fire. Oh, told you it's going to burn up these places with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. That's the nations getting it. For by fire and by his sword, so the sword is fighting enemies and armies, and the fire is the fire. Will the Lord plead? No, it doesn't mean plead. They always translate this wrong. Will judge. Will judge with all flesh, and the slain of Jehovah shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in gardens behind one tree, and the mighty eating swine flesh, and the abomination, and the mouths shall be consumed. These are the ones eating unclean food to defy Jehovah back in those days, and serving the unclean spirits, and having their rituals and parties and stuff we don't want to talk about out there in the woods and stuff. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all heathen nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. That's the glory of God of Israel who will be in the temple. And I will set a sign among them. I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Put, and Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal and Yavin, and to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the heathen. So I will set a sign. Now, what's the sign? The sign of the Son of Man in the clouds. That's the sign, the miraculous sign of the appearing of Yeshua in the clouds, like the lightning from the east to the west. Seated on the right hand of power, which is God the Father, because in Psalms 110:1 it says, "Sit thou." The Lord said to my Lord, "Sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool." And when he appears, his enemies are still not yet made his footstool, so he's at the right hand of God the Father. And they shall bring your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all heathen nations, upon horses and in chariots and litters, and upon mules and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain. So he's going to not just bring the temple down, as it states in Ezekiel chapter 37, the last three verses, is also going to bring Mount Zion up too, to put it on, which an army dismantled it many, many centuries ago. My holy mountain, Jerusalem saith, to my holy mountain. Well, Jerusalem, no, he means Mount Zion. Jerusalem is 2,500 or so feet elevated, but I believe he means Mount Zion. Saith Jehovah, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel unto the house of the Lord, which is the temple. We call the house because the glory of God resides in it this time. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith Jehovah. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith Jehovah, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Jehovah. See, there's going to be a teaching facility, I believe I was showing this, in the Galilee, where people like us, hint, will be teaching other people coming, making pilgrimage to Israel, to go to the temple. We'll be teaching them the laws of the temple. We'll be teaching them about the clothing we wear with the tassels. We'll be teaching them about Shabbat. We'll be teaching them how to treat your neighbors, your children, your spouse, all this stuff. Right? Teaching them Bible too. And there's going to be a real good Bible translation going on. But anyway, and I think it's going to be a big attraction with hotels where they'll stay, and they probably won't be charged. They could leave offerings, but I don't think they'll be charged. And they'll understand how to do a Shabbat. It's very important that they know this. They don't know this from a hole in the wall, And what the Moedim are, they don't know what the Moedim are, That they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. Yeah, and they're arrogant and cocky right now. They got money. When this goes down and all the nations, are destroyed, all the money in the world, it's all paper money. Nobody has gold and silver coins that they use as currency. It's all worthless. So everything they saved for is gone. Okay, wait, I got what's called an urgent prayer request. Let's see. This is rather complicated. The prayer request is for SL, Sierra Lima, SL, Sierra Lima, SL. Needs a house that's safe, and get life back on track with the Lord. So SL, Sierra Lima, needs a place to stay, a house, a home that is safe and peaceful, and to get life back on track with Jehovah and Yeshua. Okay, that's the prayer request. All right. All right. So let's do some spiritual warfare. Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I loose your Holy Spirit, my Heavenly Father. I ask you to loose your Holy Spirit and your shalom peace and your joy, your relaxation, your calm on all the true believers in the world. Release it on them now, my Heavenly Father. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. I bind all you unclean spirits from causing any worry, doubt, fear, oppression, problems, economic, health, relationship-wise, with friends, family, acquaintances, co-workers, employers. You shall not make these problems or any other such problem for any true believer and their household and their animals and pets anymore. And any such works that you've done in the past are null and void. They cannot be pushed forward. They're all dead and dormant and not harmful. You shall not do anything new in this area for 5 years continuously, beginning now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. I command you, and you can agree, if you're a true believer and you want to, I command you, unclean spirits, to do nothing to help Netanyahu stay in office as the prime minister, and you shall do nothing to control who becomes the new prime minister, and you shall do nothing towards making sure the next prime minister is serving you, unclean spirits. And you shall cease and desist any efforts to keep people serving you, unclean spirits, in any government job or hold any elected or appointed office in Israel. And these commands are set in place now immediately. They're irrevocable, and they're in place now for the next 5 years continuously, and you are so bound. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and what's bound on earth will be bound in heaven, and of course it helps when you agree. Now you should be feeling it already. This is how you get, set free, not the way the liars tell you on the big churches and stuff. This is how you do it. You ever see them do this in any of the big ministries in social media or in the churches? Did you ever? Of course not. Why? Because they ain't real. But if you want to deceive yourself, go ahead. I bind you, unclean spirits, from using or controlling any of the following countries' governments in any way, shape, or form. You shall I loose you from controlling any of the following governments I'm going to name, and I bind you from ever controlling them again, beginning now for the next 5 years continuously. This applies to Canada, Mexico, America, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Lebanon, Turkey, Egypt, and Israel. This is all done now, irrevocably, for the next 5 years continuously, beginning now. You're so bound. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And agree, and our Heavenly Father will bind it in heaven. In other words, he'll do it. Keep these sluggards out of these countries. Give Satan a lot to worry about. See, he concerned with Africa, South Africa, I should say, not North Africa, which becomes Israel, but Asia and North and South America, and Europe and all that. But what's really scaring him is Israel, because that's his downfall. B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, I bind all you unclean spirits from engaging in any activity to steal the peace and the joy and the contentment and the happiness of any true believer, or make them worry or doubt or attack their faith in any way, shape, or form. And you're also bound from doing anything to attack or their finances or make them spend money or cause them to spend or waste money or cause them economic difficulties in any way, shape, or form. You are so bound from any such activities for 5 years continuously, beginning now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And agree with me, and the binding will be taken by, Jehovah will do it. You can do it by yourself, but I think it's better when 2 or 3 do it or more. I command you, unclean spirits, to depart from any person in Israel or America or Canada or Mexico or Iran or Yemen or Jordan or Saudi Arabia or Iraq who teaches lies about who God is, who the Messiah is, what the true Bible is. You are bound from remaining inside any person that teaches this in any religious capacity, no matter what the religion is. And if they do teach this, the very fraction of a second they begin to speak it and teach it or write it or display it or publish it, you shall immediately depart from these people and everyone who lives in the same house as they do. And you shall never return unto them again. You are so bound this way for 5 years continuously, beginning at the very instant they did it. And you are so bound from communicating with them, appearing to them, guiding them, leading them, directing them, helping them, assisting them, rewarding them, or punishing them using any means at your disposal for 5 years continuously, beginning at the instant of that event. And these commands, this binding, is set in place irrevocably for 5 years continuously, as so stated, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you could agree with that, and it'll be bound in heaven. And that ought to be very interesting. I bind all you unclean spirits from engaging in any activity of any sort, verbally or otherwise, to help, guide, lead, direct, or assist any persons or people that serve you from acquiring or obtaining wealth or success in business or crimes or thefts. You shall not be able to do this. You're bound from doing this anymore, beginning now, for the next 5 years continuously. And this is all bound and done in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with this binding, be done in heaven. Give them a lot to worry about, a lot of problems. I command all you unclean spirits to not do any activity to cause worry, doubt, fear, oppression, grief, anxiety for any true believer anywhere in the world right now for the next 5 years continuously. You're so bound from engaging in such behavior, using people or causing circumstances to make true believers feel this way, or giving them thoughts, ideas, or notions to make them this way. You shall not do any of that. You shall not give them anything. No, anything. You just can't do anything. These true believers, you're so bound. And this is all done irrevocably for 5 years continuously, beginning now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And just agree, and our Heavenly Father will do it. I bind you unclean spirits from doing anything against to cause any kind of harm or suffering or damage or expense to any pet or animal owned, possessed, or controlled by any true believer in the world for the next 5 years continuously. You're so bound, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And agree with that. I bind all you unclean spirits from being in or working with any person who teaches false doctrine intentionally about the Bible on any social media or in a church or in person. You shall immediately depart from said people, never to return unto them again, and no unclean spirit shall go in them, or guide them, lead them, direct them, appear to them, communicate with these people, or help them continue teaching falsely. And these commands are in place beginning now for the next 5 years continuously. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. That sort of covers the religiosity, doesn't it? Well, we got a lot done. You should be feeling better. I pray, I loose in the B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach the gifts of the Spirit on all the true believers, wherever they are in the world. My Heavenly Father, I loose it B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you could agree with that. I ask you, my Heavenly Father, for more faith, more discernment, and more peace and joy, shalom, for all those that are working with me and following me on the internet. I ask for this for them, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that. Okay, let's see what's going on in the chat. All right. So please pray for me and my wife, for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. Pray for our finances. Pray for our animals and pets and us to be happy, healthy, and whole and safe. And pray for our living situation. If it has to change, it works out smoothly and easily, financially and otherwise. Pray for better videos. Pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. Thanks, guys.